Get your NECA horror figures at Big Bad Toy Store at the link in the description. Kaiju, Dragon Ball, Pokemon, and more. It's Steven's Toy Reviews. Hey there, collectors, it's Steven here, and I'm bringing you another review. Yes, thankfully things have sort of settled down on my end and I can actually get back into the swing of things. Today we're going to be taking a look at a new horror figure from NECA, or at least it should be new for some folks because yay, distribution is getting back into the swing of things, at least for NECA. Today we're going to be taking a look at NECA's Annabelle from the movie Annabelle Comes Home, but realistically speaking, I don't really from memory think the design changed so much, but there's going to be someone in the comments who's going to be saying, yep, it has. But this is NECA's Annabelle figure, and I do have to say, from the way that things look, it doesn't seem like Annabelle comes with too much, but it is priced higher than some of NECA's other Ultimate figures. So considering the adjusted price points, the size, is it going to be worth it? Well, it's also a part of the Conjuring universe, and NECA's been doing a pretty good job with those releases lately. So, let's take a look to see whether or not it's worth adding into your collection. Annabelle is not a human, but Annabelle uses the dot matrix face printing technology that so many companies have been using lately, and it is actually rather impressive. You're going to see this on an up-close and personal shot of the face, along with the alternate head sculpts that we get. Otherwise, for the paint application for Annabelle, she does look overall rather good, with only a couple of small issues, at least on mine. As some of you may know, NECA does tend to paint the joints, even if you're going to be taking a look at, let's say, their Chucky figure, with the pattern that portion of the body should have. So for an example, if there should be a decal there or whatnot on the actual source material, it'll get painted on the joint, and then as you move the joint, that paint will flake off. That is the same here for Annabelle because she has a fantastic pearlescent paint for the main body where it's not going to be a part of her dress that is made of a nice fabric material, and we're going to touch on that in a second. So yes, there is that pearlescent paint that is also used on the elbow joints, and that will flake off, so that is a little bit of a bummer. Additionally, there's a small spot on one of the feet of my Annabelle, so a foot, yeah, not too great. And some folks may see that over time, the brim of the dress doesn't necessarily look the best due to stitching. I think over time that may come undone, but that's something that I'm just estimating on. Otherwise, Annabelle does look really good. Again, we do have the dot matrix printing for the face, for the eyes, for the rosy cheeks, all of that good stuff. The paint application for the hair looks just fine as well. We have some unique sculpted details on the portion of the main body that is not going to be the fabric material. It actually does look rather well done, and what's even better than that is that for the paint on Annabelle, it actually is masked relatively well. So we're not going to have random red paint that's going to be bleeding on over to other parts, which is something to say. Now, again, we're going to be taking a look at the dress, which I do think looks good for the fabric material. I would imagine that for some folks, quality control-wise, there may be some issues with some loose threads getting snagged and about. Now, underneath the dress, which I can't believe I'm saying that, Annabelle is just kind of blank. There's no real sculpted details. It's kind of like one of their retro cloth figures. So overall, Annabelle, from the looks department, she looks just fine, and there really aren't any issues unless you're looking for maybe some small things here and there. Again, I do worry about the dress in the long term, so do keep that in mind, that this may not be something that's going to hold up 10, 20, 30 years down the line. And by that point, there's probably going to be something better on the market anyway. So yeah, Annabelle looks good. Articulation time for Annabelle, and what do we have? Well, Annabelle's head is effectively going to plug in on a ball joint, so we can get her to look around in all sorts of different directions, and then the neck is on a ball joint as well. Well, if you take a real close look, it's going to be a peg that plugs into the head, so yeah, that's going to be a ball joint. No issues there. For the shoulders, we are going to have swivels and hinges, which once again, we are going to have that flaking paint, which is not a great thing, but it is what it is. For whatever reason, on this arm, it's a little bit more stiff for me, and there is no bicep swivel, and I feel like this is relatively thin, so if you do have a stuck joint, just be very careful. Normally, I would recommend using heat, but we're going to talk about the dress in a second here, and whether or not that's a good idea. So continuing on with the arms, we do have an elbow hinge here, which is good, and then there is also a swivel. For the wrists, we are going to have swivels and a hinge. Very good. Do we have a waist joint? We do. It kind of feels just like a swivel, but we do get a little bit of ball joint movement there. Like I showed you before, we do have the legs here, which are going to feature the swivel forward and back, hinge out to the side. It's going to be for both, and there's no restriction on the legs, which is good. We have a single hinge knee that features a swivel. For the ankles, surprisingly, we get a hinge and a swivel, so we get full-on ankle rocker movement, which is kind of surprising because that's better than some other like full-blown, fully articulated NECA figures. So step up your game. Now for the dress here, you can see it poking out, which is a bit of a bummer. I mean, that really shouldn't be happening, and that can contribute to the fraying overall, kind of like Pinhead. But this is wire frame, so we can move this around as we would like, and we can create different patterns. And this will sort of contribute to helping or hurting getting her into the display case, which is a bit of a pain if you're struggling a bit. Which I think I missed this. There is also a thigh swivel. So basically the legs are going to be the same as any NECA figure you're going to have. So yes, so we don't have any articulation here. It's just all going to be at the bottom, at the brim, if you will. So very good. So that wire may snap one day. Just be careful there. Now, what am I talking about with the stuck joints and being extra careful here? Well, this is going to be made of cloth, and by this I mean the dress. So how are you going to use hot water? You're going to use a blow dryer and risk catching this on fire? Well, I actually had a stuck foot. So what I found is if you just hold her and run a small trickle of water, it should loosen up these joints. And likewise, just pulling this back and then punch the camera and then hold her underneath the water. I think it was this ankle. No, it was this one that was stuck. And after running her under hot water for a bit, it was fine. So articulation, it's rather appropriate for Annabelle. They did a stellar job. I mean, there are some things like double hinge elbows, double hinge knees, but Annabelle's not going to need that. She's good. Thumbs up. Accessories time, and this is kind of where we get into this odd thing that NECA sometimes does. Because if we go for a quantity count, we have the display case, we have a note, we have a decal for the display case. That's going to be the warning, positively do not open. And then we have 2 additional heads. And then, of course, we do have the chair that goes with the display case. So quantity-wise, we don't really have a lot of accessories. But quality-wise, yeah, Annabelle comes with a significant amount. So first and foremost, let's go ahead and take a look at those alternate head sculpts, which we're going to get another head sculpt where Annabelle is looking straight ahead, but there is going to be that sort of damaged eye. And then we're going to have another head sculpt where Annabelle is looking off to the left-hand side. Pretty sweet there. All right, so Annabelle does come with that note that says "Miss Me" on it, and it doesn't feel like it's made of paper. It feels like it's made of a pliable plastic, so that's pretty cool. The backside does look like paper, though, so neat. And then we do have the display case, which the chair I'm going to include in that, which this is a little bit of a pain for me for getting Annabelle to sit in the chair in the display case. And I'm going to demonstrate exactly why. So let's take a look at everything first. We're going to have that decal that goes on the display case, and I'm not sure why they didn't just put that on there to begin with, but it says warning, positively do not open. I struggle here a little bit to get the actual decal off and to put it on, so yeah, c'est la vie. Just work it a little bit, and then you can apply it, and you are good to go. The actual quality there does look pretty good for the print. Now, for the actual display case, it does have a gold trim all throughout. In some spots, it does look like the gold paint was a little thin, not necessarily covering it as well in some other areas. And they didn't mask it 100% perfectly, but it's really only noticeable up close and personal. The thinning of the paint in some areas, that is notable from a little bit away, but for the perfect masking, yeah, it's not a huge issue. Now, on the display case in and of itself, to begin with, we do have that tarot card there that is blocking the little handle there to open up the display case, so this way it seals Annabelle on the inside. We do have that little handle there, which does not turn. I'm afraid I'm going to break it, but you know what? Just be careful. You should be good. Now, the display case actually comes in two parts when you go to take this out of the box. There's going to be the bottom, I guess you could say, lift for the display case that's going to be separated, and you just got to be careful putting it together. I think there is a specific way you have to do this, so just be mindful of lining up the pegs with the holes in the display case. Now we do have that chair that comes with a display case as well, and it does look relatively great. The paint for the chair looks fine, no real issues when looking at it from afar. Up close and personal with macro photography, you are going to see a couple of small issues, so not really anything to write home about there. Now, something I glanced over a little bit, because this also goes for the chair as much as it does the display case, NECA did a really good job of the paint application along with the sculpt to make the wood look like an oak, maybe a mahogany. Yeah, it does look really good, and it would be convincing for wood if you didn't know it was plastic to begin with. So, yay, good job there. Now, setting everything up can be a bit of a pain, and I go through the whole process here. Yes, the bottom lift portion, that's relatively easy, but the pain comes with getting Annabelle to sit in the chair and getting the display case to close. You have to get her legs to go in the sitting position just correctly, which isn't a big issue, but the dress does get in the way. Yes, it does have a bit of the wireframe there at the bottom, so you can wrap it around her legs, but it's still in the way for closing the door fully, and you may actually have Annabelle sit upright a bit more in the chair. Sometimes, depending on how you do it, she may even be sitting off of the chair, so you're going to have to open it up, fiddle around with it a bit more, and get it right. Now, it's not just me who has this issue. If you check out the official NECA fan club on Facebook, a lot of folks had that issue as well, so do keep that in mind, that this can be a little bit of a fiddly process, but once you get it down, Annabelle displays relatively well. So, if this is something that you're interested in, there may be some other accessories you want to get, maybe some flame effects or whatnot. I can't really think of anything too wild and crazy to go with it, so check out some videos to maybe give you some inspiration. I got some of those up on the channel as well. Now we're going to go ahead and move on over to a size comparison where you can see, yes, Annabelle is small, so relatively speaking in scale. Relatively, I think, seems to be the word of this video, so yeah, let's count how many times I use that. I'm not going to do it, but you can. Yeah, Annabelle does fit in well with your 7-inch scale horror figures. So buy now, skip, or wait for a deal. Annabelle does come at a little bit of a higher price point, and realistically speaking, quantity-wise, not a whole lot of accessories, but NECA did a great job with the actual figure, and we, realistically speaking, get everything that we could use for accessories here, including small additional things that, well, many other companies probably wouldn't have included. So for the price, that is going to factor in the large display case that we get, which is essential to the character. So NECA did everything right by the character and released a package that, if you're a fan of The Conjuring or Annabelle specifically, gotta admit, wasn't a big fan of the Annabelle standalone movie, the first one that came out, so I haven't seen any of the sequels that have come about from it. But yes, very good. If you're a fan, definitely worth picking up. Well, collectors, that brings us to the end of the video today, and I just wanted to take a second to thank you so much for watching. Now you've heard a lot from me, I'd like to hear a little bit from you. Drop in the comments down below whether or not you liked it, you hated it, or maybe you were somewhere in between. I also want to take an extra second here for a nice, humongous thank you to all the patrons for SDR over the last month who have really helped the channel grow into what it can be today. So to all of you, 2 big thumbs up, thank you very much. And now the end card should be popping up, which will give you a few clickable links, like maybe to subscribe or head on over to my Patreon, or some short URLs like to my social media or to my Teespring store. There's also a video I hand selected for you, so if you want to watch another STR video, I hand selected some good content for you to watch, so definitely check out that video. Thank you again so much for watching, and I'll catch ya in the next video.